What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're taking a look at AVOWED here on the Steam Deck, and this is a tough one to run, so I wasn't expecting a lot. I've even had to run it at lower resolutions on other devices like the Ally X or the Legion Go, and currently on the MSI Claw, it gets stuck in a fatal error if you turn off ray tracing, so I haven't been able to try it there. But I wanted to take a look at performance here on Steam Deck after trying it on the other devices. Knowing it would be a bit rough, I wanted to see how it would be anyways. So 800p here, windowed full screen, no VSync, no motion blur. We're going to use FX or AMD's FSR, but we'll also take a look at TSR that's in here as well. And you're pretty much going to have to stick with low settings, although later on we'll bump up to medium on the textures, and we'll take a look at some other settings here before some gameplay as well. But just sitting still here at the low settings with FSR on quality, we're at about 30 FPS. So we'll stay right here so we can see some differences. We'll go ahead and jump past balance and go right to performance on FSR, which will gain us about 4 or 5 FPS. But if you guys know performance FSR, when we get moving around and stuff, it does look really rough here on the screen, but you could do it. Going to quality is going to have us back to our 30, 31 FPS, which is going to look a lot better. Just lose a couple of FPS there. Now, the other thing we have here is the TSR, which is going to default to 67%, which is very close to the 31 or so that we get on FSR quality. So if you want to go that route, maybe look a little bit cleaner, you could do that. You could also switch this down to about 10% lower at 57%. That'll get you close to the performance setting on FSR 3, but it will look a good bit better than FSR's performance. But you can pick what you want to use here, but you are going to probably want to mess with some upscaling to keep this thing a little bit playable. I'm just going to stick with FSR 3 balanced for now for the gameplay in the game, because it's not going to make a big difference on performance anyways, and it'll just work well enough here on the Steam Deck. And besides that, as far as settings go, again, medium, not going to work out, although we will use some medium textures here in just a minute. But even though you'll switch that setting over and it'll look like it's going to hold FPS, as soon as you move around on medium, it's going to go into the low 20s and teens, and when you get into battle, it's pretty rough. So anyways, low preset, but can bump up medium on the texture quality if you want to help the visuals a little bit, because again, gameplay is going to be pretty janky when you get into actual gameplay and exploring in battles. Frame rate and frame times are going to be kind of all over the place, but this is where I'm going to settle in though, and the settings I'll just run for the rest of the video. I think you're getting an idea already of what this is looking like here on the Steam Deck. But anyways, I'll just show a couple of different areas. This is kind of an indoor spot where you would expect FPS to be a little bit higher, maybe cleaner on the frame times. We don't have as much draw distance, but it's still going to come down into the 20s. It's not going to necessarily be a stuttery thing or anything like that. But even with a few enemies on the screen and the party and all that going on here, a few effects, it is going to dip down under 30 from time to time. If it would stay over 30 and maybe you could lock it, it would help. And you could certainly lock 30 FPS and help some of that. But the game does look pretty rough at the lower FPS as well. And in other areas, as you can see here, 23, 26, even at these lower settings, medium textures or not, this is pretty much the performance we get. And outdoors in the open world area, of course, depending on where you're at, is going to vary as well. I'm only about 5 or 6 hours into the game. But yeah, frame times are going to suffer more out here because, of course, there's a lot more happening. There's more view distance. There's more enemies, all that kind of stuff. So it's very hard to keep the FPS up any higher, to keep it 30 or above. It just gets rough. And running around social areas, the initial towns and hub areas, it's pretty rough as well, usually around in the 20s, no matter what I do with the settings. So I didn't want to go too far with this video because for a lot of you guys, this just really isn't going to be a playable experience, at least right now. Hopefully things will get better as time goes on, and maybe they can get some settings or some optimization that maybe could get this thing to run around 30 more stable on the Steam Deck. And I'm sure there'll be some mods out there as well, but we'll have to see how that pans out here for AVOWED on the deck. All right, guys, as always, thanks a lot for coming to check out the video. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.